you study Islamic Studies, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Quite a strange thing to study for a young English lad like you.
I don't know about young, but yeah, I guess it's. When you start studying, you realise how pertinent it is in a way. Like, there's a community of, like, I don't know the exact numbers, but like at least like 5 million Muslims or so in the UK, and especially in London, you see the diversity. And now, having studied it, I also see you see world history reflected in the lives of people that exist in the UK. So like the Somali community in Cardiff that came here, or the seafaring communities, that the first mosque built in Liverpool in the 1890s by like a convert. And I don't know, for me, yeah, this is another really, as with the running, the other thing that I'm really interested in is history, and particularly Islamic history, in the sense that it's just such a massive phenomenon, Islam, that if you start to understand some of the key debates and themes in the Muslim world, then it really gives you an insight into a broad amount of global history.
Yeah, and it is a really interesting thing to think about, because when you talk about Islam, you're also talking about this almost society and also empire and philosophy.
Yeah, yeah.
Driver, we're turning.
The slow turn. Oh, nice, very nice, very nice. Yeah, for sure. Is religion something you've studied in the past or have had an interest in?
No, not at all, but definitely interested. It's so interesting and to learn. And you know, so you went to Uzbekistan, right?
Yes,
they're also Muslim.
Yeah, they're Muslim in Uzbekistan.
And so,
majority.
What is there anything that like shocked you about learning, like studying Islam philosophies? And you mentioned like the key questions. What are the key questions?
Oh,
okay.
Well, the key.
So we gotta. Welcome to London.
Yeah. Annoyingly or interestingly, the key questions, at least in Islamic studies, seem to be incredibly provincial in a way. Like, one of the key questions is, what is Islam?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Like, people come up to me all the time, like, I'm not Muslim myself, and they'll go, Oscar, what does Islam think about music? Or what does it, like, Islam, people seem to perceive it as this, like, stable entity that expresses itself coherently over all places and times. And that, so, yeah, that's one of the debates. Is there such thing as, what is Islamic music, Islamic poetry? Yeah, so I'm not sure I'm the right person to speak on that, but yes, in Islamic studies, some of the recent books that have been important or have generated discussions have been precisely on like what constitutes Islam and what we should be studying in the first place. Because for a long time, the Western scholars of Islam, they studied the roots of the religion. They studied like, how did the Quran become formed? How did the Hadith scholarship come about? And in a way, people argue now that this was just a form of trying to delegitimize religion. If you can find out what the roots are and argue that they're not as accurate as people within the religion say, then you can attack that religion.
Right.
So now Western scholarship is a bit more self-critical in lots of ways, I would argue, or self-aware of these trends or these attempts.
But it's interesting studying it from an outside perspective, because most people that are Muslim grow up in a Muslim country and are integrated, while you're coming from a Western perspective. So you do have a different perspective, you know, kind of an outsider looking in. So
yes, for sure,
even from your perspective, what would you say, maybe I'm not asking you to define what Islam is, but in your understanding, what do you make of Islam? Like, what do you think it is?
You're putting me on the spot.
We'll go on the main road.
I'm going to give you a very boring answer, which is I can tell you maybe what Islam might have predominantly looked like at a certain place in time, according to certain documents that I have. But I don't have like a big answer in that sense. So I study at the moment, I'm looking at pilgrims that left Uzbekistan after the arrival of the Soviets, prior to them, the Tsarists in Uzbekistan in the late 19th century. And I'm looking at basically the sources and the books that they wrote to memorialize the history of the Islamic communities in Central Asia in the preceding century. So for them, they're in a way, I'm interested in what they see, what they think is Islam, and the people that they choose to revere, because they write these like biographical dictionaries. And so I find it very interesting that sometimes they're like biographies of different poets, and they include Jewish poets and Muslim poets, and even like different denominations of what in the contemporary period what we would see as like opposing forces, like Shia or Sunni or Sufi, or like they're sort of, I wouldn't, sometimes in certain contexts they're all respected for certain abilities they have in terms of their poetic capacity. So I'm interested in like the memory of these communities that were reproduced in exile. It's slightly complicated. I know we veered a bit from the running, but it does. Okay, the thing to bring it back is that the project that we talked about last time, Haraka Baraka, it pretty much translates over most Islamic countries in the world, because it's an Arabic phrase, right? Like Haraka Baraka, movement is a blessing. But even in Uzbek, they say like Haraka da Baraka with the Turkic grammar, or I heard the other day that in Swahili they even say Haraka Baraka. So maybe there is an overlap between the Islamic world and running in lots of ways as well.